first out here.
Call meeting to order. Roll call. Everyone present but Dave, Brenna, and Melissa. All right.
Lonnie.
And Lonnie.
She's going to join us by Zoom.
Oh, she said no.
Call for the approval of the agenda.
I'll approve. Motion.
Second.
Second.
Eric seconds. Public invited to be heard. Is that you three?
I'm sorry?
Are you the public to be heard? Or are you just hanging out?
We're just hanging out.
Yeah, there wasn't anything.
It was so informative last time. It
Okay.
really was, that we decided, we have to come and hang out.
Fair enough. You never saw these three sitting behind me.
Okay, yeah, one of us is going like this with our mouth.
And call for the approval of previous month's minutes. Any changes, adds, or deletes?
I have just a question. So just clarification. So under discussion of the board vacancies, if I recall, the word must kind of concerns me because I thought what you had said, John, was please let him know. So the word must kind of concerns me there.
You strike that.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just Marta's name, I think, is spelled wrong on the second page,
Under volunteers?
where it says motion to ask council for proclamation, seconded by Marta.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else? Motion to approve?
I'll approve.
Second.
Eric seconds. They're approved. On the new business, we have two guests today. Naomi Curlin from Longmont Food Rescue, at the end of the table, and Hilda Zamora-Kush of Children, Youth, and Family. Naomi would like to lead off.
Okay.
You all remember from Naomi from last year when she made a sterling presentation about the potatoes.
Absolutely.
She's
Yeah,
back to
welcome,
chat some
Naomi.
more.
She's a sterling person.
Thank you for having me back. So I am just here to do one first quarter check-in on our program that we've launched together in June for our monthly food distribution. So this is covering June through August of this year. And I think some of you may have already received some of the information, but I'm doing a very thorough kind of overview for anyone who doesn't know what has been going on with our programs or have seen all the data yet. So first, looking at the growth over the first three distributions we've had. This is households served and people fed, two metrics we're tracking for these distributions. And we are seeing consistent growth. And this is actually, we were expecting growth as word of mouth passed along and as people got to learn about the program, but we are seeing a little bit faster growth than I expected based on it being launched in June and then having July and August tend to be, for our other food distributions, our lower months or kind of inconsistent due to summer travel and other things competing for attention during July and August for folks. And so seeing this amount of growth and knowing that as we come into fall, we usually see our other numbers continue to go up through the end of the year, we are anticipating some continued growth with this program. As the regulars who have been coming return, bring friends and neighbors, and word of mouth continues, and folks settle down to their life in Longmont and no more having travel. So I think eventually we will see a plateau. That's what we've seen in our other programs, but I don't think we've reached our full numbers yet. And next week at the next distribution, we'll see how September and then October treat us. But if we do continue at this growth rate, we will have doubled our numbers, reaching 100 households from 50 at our initial first launch, either September or October, depending if we're looking at the household growth or the people-fed growth. They're slightly different. But by October, if we continued on this trajectory, we definitely would be reaching about 100 households. And that's just good to note because households, the way we're tracking that, is usually 1 or 2 people from a household. And so that is upwards of 100 people coming through if that's 100 households. And we have noticed that in the lobby, folks like to arrive about an hour early to get their number early because everyone, we have a numbering system, but it is kind of first come, first serve. So folks have realized that and started coming an hour before we start our distributions. So just kind of thinking about traffic flow through the lobby and how that is going. We want to keep an eye on these numbers and see, I think that 100 household benchmark is going to be really important to keep a track of because things last month were already a little tight in that space. And so then this is the, can you go back to that? Yep.
On that last slide, for the people fed for July and August, what are those numbers?
130.
It's 130 for August. I think it was 120. Yep, 120, so 100, 120, and 130.
Thank you.
And these numbers, I think 50, 60, and 80. So we saw a bigger household jump, but we're getting about 1.5 people per household on average, which is about between 1.25 and 1.5, which is what we expect for senior populations. Folks either who live alone or have a partner, it tends to be the household size. Sometimes we get some multi-generational families coming through, but that's the majority of what we're seeing is single or couples. And so this is a breakdown of the food types and amounts we've distributed over those 3 months. You'll see that we have been providing, the majority is fresh produce, which is how our food programs tend to work because it's based on donation, and that is the most donated food type we receive, and we also prioritize the nutritional, healthy food. In July, there are some larger numbers due to an unexpected larger donation. So this is something that we have to we see the flux of donations because we never know what we're going to get till we pick up one of those donations. They're from grocery stores, farmers markets, various produce providers. And so in July, we happen to have an unexpectedly large donation of frozen meat and bread from King Soopers. And that's not a consistent thing, but that one did affect those numbers. If you see, bread and meat are really big in that July month. And because of that, we did not actually have to purchase any meat. So the majority of our meat and eggs, we do not get donated. Those are the most requested food types and also the least frequently donated because they usually sell and are in high demand. So anytime we have funds for purchasing food, we tend to allocate them for meat and eggs. And so that July graph, the biggest jump there is the meat, bread, and dairy, which were all donated in unexpected amounts, and we did not have to purchase them that month. But the eggs we did purchase, and then the numbers for August, I think, is what we're going to kind of see probably this month too, for on average with that breakdown, and like with our typical donations and with our typical purchase plan, that might be the breakdown we'll see consistently if we don't have a random donation of meat.
And what was the total pounds for August?
It was around 1162, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can get those exact numbers are in a spreadsheet, and I can get those to you. Sorry, I can get the exact. If you want the total pounds for each one, I can give you those later.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it was somewhere around 1,100 to 1,200, I think.
I think the first 2 months, July and August combined, was about 1,300 and 700 pounds. So
the June and July, yeah.
Over 2,000 pounds.
It was 2,100. 2,123 pounds.
Approximately. Thank you.
Any other questions about this slide?
No, I like that. Colors.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I will make sure you all have a copy of this presentation so you can reference it later. And I can get the exact, these graphs don't give you very exact numbers, but I can make sure that I add them if you're curious about those exact numbers. They're in a spreadsheet that I think I've already shared with you. So we also did a first quarter survey at our August distribution. So this was on August 9th. We had 80 households, as I mentioned, and we received 70 responses. So while it was a voluntary survey, we got the vast majority of folks participated in the survey, and that is a really high participation rate, I will just say, from what we've experienced with voluntary surveys in the past. So 70 responses is a really great sampling. And so first we wanted to kind of know how they are using the senior center. Are they frequent visitors at the senior center, or is this program, as I know, part of the goal by doing it on a Saturday, when we just started Saturday hours here, was to bring some new folks into the senior center, get folks learning about the senior center programs. So we did see that we had 13% coming for the first time to senior center with this program. And then an additional 19% said rarely do they visit the senior center, which means less than monthly because we had a monthly and a weekly option as well. So that's almost a third of folks who would not be coming monthly to the senior center if it weren't for this program bring them in. And I think this is a great opportunity to be providing other materials. We did hand out Go magazines. We had handed out those schedules that were printed when people were asking about senior center programs. So I think if we make those materials more available up front when people are waiting for that hour or so, when they are just hanging out, we have a captive audience of folks, at least a third here, that are perhaps going to visit more often if they're coming in through this monthly program. And then looking a little bit more into the populations we're serving, unsurprisingly, vast majority is coming from Longmont, mostly 80501, 80504 zip codes. We've got a little bit from 80503 and just 5% from outside of Longmont. So that's kind of what we expected. Sometimes the word does spread outside of Longmont and folks come in for our programs, but we're serving the Longmont population. And then we also tracked how many English versus Spanish surveys were filled out. And so 16% were completed in Spanish. And then going ahead to see the racial ethnic groups that they self-identify with, if you combine the Hispanic, Latino, and Mexican populations, we have about a third, 30%, which is very much in line with what we know from Longmont's population. And so we're seeing that the people who are coming in are representative of the Longmont population at large. And that while about 30% are of Hispanic, Latino, Mexican ethnicity, about half of them are choosing to fill this survey out in Spanish. So there is some monolingual support that is really helpful when we have those Spanish-speaking volunteers at these distributions for that percentage that Spanish is their more comfortable language. And then you can see the other proportions. That this is all pretty much in line with our Longmont demographics. And then we try to assess impact to see how this program is already serving our community. So one of the questions we like to ask is, if we did not exist, if this program didn't exist, are there other resources that they could use to obtain food that they need? And while a little over half said yes, we had 70% that said no. So that's interesting that 17% might not have been accessing any food resources prior to this program, and so that's filling a vital need for them. And then about a third said, I don't know, meaning there's an opportunity for both of those groups, not just for providing food for this program, but providing other resources of where they might be accessing food throughout the month, since this is just a once-a-month program. So we have already been at these distributions sharing flyers of our other programs, our community fridge program, our other distributions, so that they are more aware of the other things that we are doing in the community. But there might be other food access especially for senior programs that they might not be aware of. Do they know about the food that is provided in the cafeteria here if they're new to the senior center? Do they know about Meals on Wheels or Elder Share through Community Food Share? So we could be providing additional food access resources for the about 48% of folks who might not know about those other resources, since we are right now just a once-a-month food distribution here. And then we like to check in on how the food that we're providing is meeting or not meeting their expectations. We did not have folks select the somewhat satisfied or not very satisfied options for this. So we're seeing that folks are overwhelmingly satisfied with the food they're getting or very satisfied. And then about a third, it was their first time. So as we saw those growth numbers, a third of people who were filling out the survey, this was their first time coming. And so we'll get more information on the long-term satisfaction from them, future surveys. And so what kind of food are they expecting, needing, or wanting? This is probably our most important question for us as far as how we tailor our programs to different populations. We always ask this question of, what foods do you want to see more of? That doesn't mean that we aren't providing these foods, but this is what they're looking for. And so the majority, this is aligned with overall what we see when we usually distribute these surveys. Fresh fruits and vegetables are at the top. And if we go back to what we are currently distributing, produce is the biggest thing, so we're providing that need. They're saying, yes, we want to always see more of the fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's what we're able to deliver. So that's really encouraging, and that kind of comes back to whether they're satisfied or not. They're seeing that we're bringing the food that they're looking for. But right behind the fruits and vegetables, or actually eggs, beat out fresh fruit just by a hair's breadth. So eggs, like I said, one of the food types that we will always prioritize funding purchasing for, because that and meat at 41%, or at 66%, sorry, are the highest valued behind fresh produce. And so if you look
Naomi,
go ahead.
Has that been exacerbated, like from previous surveys, because of the skyrocketing cost of?
Yes, we have seen meat and eggs switch positions over the last couple of years. I think like 2 or 3 years when we first had some egg shortages and some concern over that. That's when we started to see egg and meat have always been kind of at the top, but they kind of go back and forth depending on what the pricing is and the value. And when you get a dozen eggs versus 1 pound of meat, you can get a lot more meals out of a dozen eggs than a pound of meat. And so that is something else. Like when we're doing units per household, we are doing 1 pound of ground beef per household or 1 dozen eggs. That's what we can afford. That's kind of how we can make it equitable for everyone. And so while 1 pound of ground beef can be expensive, it can be about as much as a dozen eggs these days. And it's like, that's, going to last a lot more meals for a family or a household. So seeing how highly valued that is, and we go back here, we see, okay, we have prioritized when we've had funding the purchase of eggs and meat. They're certainly not making up a huge amount of the food yet, and that is really due to funding limitations. And after that, we start seeing some dairy being highly requested. This is also very common. Cheese, actually higher than milk, which was a little bit of a surprise. We usually see milk higher than cheese, so cheese, milk, butter's pretty high there. But one thing that I found interesting, and I wanted to earmark, is that nuts was unusually high for this population. We don't usually see it that highly ranked. It's very close to all the dairy products. And similarly, underneath nuts, the gluten-free options, dairy-free milk, and plant-based proteins are all in like the 20% or higher. That is showing that this population is looking for alternative protein sources and might have certain dietary restrictions that we don't see as commonly requested in other populations. And so if we are already prioritizing meat and eggs as purchasing, which are animal products, if anyone cannot consume animal products for whatever reason, having nuts as another protein source might be better to prioritize than dairy, even though some dairy products beat it out in this survey. If we're already providing meat, eggs, maybe also nuts as a vegetarian protein source. So that was an interesting thing that I think will inform our decisions going forward if we have the opportunity to invest in nuts. Any questions about this before I move on? So as I mentioned, this all comes back down to what can we afford with protein purchases, since they're not very frequently donated. So this was a budget that I think you all might have, or did everyone already see it on this board or not? I'm not sure who has seen this, but this was our estimates for this program, and I had done some estimates if we're going to just do eggs and beef, if we're going to add on dairy, and I think the next phase is to add nuts as a possible line item too, and that is something I'm going to look at for next month's purchases as well. But we started at 50 households, so that's the first one. But then if we get up to 100 households, all of the budget doubles for the month. So we are currently in a funding gap between our usual purchase grants, which are on a state schedule, and so ended at the end of June. And if we get the funding for the next round of the state level purchase funding, it will not come into effect until mid-November if we receive that. So we're hopeful that we'll receive it again this year, but right now we've been in a funding gap from July through, I guess, October or potentially November. And so that's why I've been building out for the 4 months. And thanks to some very generous local donors, we have had purchasing funds for this program solely due to those donors. So this is the current budget we've been working with for this program specifically. This is all funds that have been earmarked only for this program. And so you can see the donations that came in to help with July. There's no meat purchase for July because we did receive that really large donation that was unexpected. But then you can see August, and now our anticipated purchases for September, now that we've seen numbers grow, we are upping those purchase amounts. So we're getting closer to that 100 households budget instead of the 50 that we started with. So we're looking at 80 pounds of ground beef and 75 dozen eggs to try to meet that need. Now, if we do hit 100 households, those numbers will go up again. So by the end of this month, we will have about half the budget for 100 households just for beef and eggs for October. 600 left, and we need about 1280 if we're going to do both at that 100 household level. So I just wanted to be really upfront with how we're able to right now provide the food that we're providing, meet the needs, meet the requests, the most requested food types, and the satisfaction levels that we're seeing with these populations. But knowing that meat and eggs are so high up there right by the fresh produce, if we don't continue to have funding for these purchases, we could see the satisfaction and the value of this program somewhat start to decline.
So Naomi, right now at the 601,
Oh yeah, right there.
yeah,
That's anticipated
And
after our
you're getting-
September purchases.
yeah, so that really would not cover October, nor would it even go into November.
No, it would be
Really
half
low.
of our anticipated October budget.
Yeah.
So it could cover if we're going to be upping those numbers for eggs and beef, we're anticipating each of those are going to be around $600 each. So you could cover one or the other, or half the amount, and then only half the amount of people who come. So what happened last month when we saw the bigger rise than we expected in numbers?
Yeah.
We did run out of both meat and eggs, and so there were maybe a quarter to a third of people who came that didn't get eggs. I mean, certainly a third of people didn't get eggs. I think a quarter of the people didn't get meat. We had slightly more meat than eggs. Because we had 60 pounds versus 45 dozen eggs. So yeah, actually 45 dozen, we had 80 households. That's only about half the households that got eggs. And and 3/4 got beef.
So we would never consider a half a dozen, right? Because they're packaged. I know that.
I can
And
look
how
our current
do that?
purchasing, the way that we're bulk purchasing them right now, they only come in the dozen. I could pursue half dozen options if we wanted to try that to save costs. But the value of a dozen eggs, even for a single person household, that can last you then a couple weeks, and eggs last a long time. So it really is. I think eggs are just such a great value for the dollar. So I'm a big proponent that if for some reason we had to choose one for October, I would invest in eggs over meat, actually, because of how a dozen eggs can last and really have that value.
And the versatility.
And the versatility, exactly.
And I think people really appreciate the eggs.
I mean, the eggs were the top one out of the proteins.
Yeah.
So Naomi, will we be limiting things like desserts? Because I was at desserts last time and people were just grabbing them.
Yeah.
Will we be limiting them to like one each?
Let's use this. Sorry. Our policy tends to only be to limit the items that we are purchasing, or if there's some really, really unusual items that we consider high value. So when we look at what was requested, there was only one person who requested sweets. So even though people might really like them, people might very much like them, but because they're not a high priority or high nutritional value item, we're not going to really be monitoring them. And part of what we've done with our programs is it is a bit first come, first serve. You get your number, you get your place in line, and the benefit of that is that's why people are coming early. You're able to pick from more variety. So we will run out of certain things. So for example, we had so many strawberries, and we had flats and flats of strawberries this summer. People in line were like, can I take more than one? And I said, if you want to fill your bag just with strawberries. You can, you just won't be able to take as much of everything else. And so one of the things we are instituting this month and going forward is we are going to be having baskets folks are shopping with instead of bags. Everyone will get the same size basket. They will get one basket to shop with through per household. And if they want to fill a second basket, they can immediately go back in line and get another placeholder. And then so once the line has gone through, they can shop for a second basket. But that will help limit naturally. So if someone really, really wants avocados, and we've got a lot, if they want to fill their whole basket with avocados, okay, but you're just going to have that at the end of the line. And I think that will help a little bit with that natural, distribution.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we had that for our other we use that with our other public distribution programs to help maintain that. We hadn't instituted yet this program because of the concern around physical limitations and whether people would be easily able to go through line and shop the basket. And so our solution to that is this month we're going to try it out and have extra volunteer helpers that if someone needs help shopping, they will carry the basket with that shopper through the line so that they don't have to carry the full basket weight by themselves. All right. That was just, referencing the growth that we're anticipating to see. So our final question on the survey, to bring it back around to the survey, now we talked about food types and all of that, is the qualitative feedback and comments. And so I just wanted to share some of the really lovely comments we received already from this program. I really love the nutrition is critical as we age, and it's calling out those fresh food, fresh produce and protein and eggs being appreciated. That's exactly what we're seeing across this entire survey, that's what people are really valuing and that we're able to provide that is considered unique and so valuable for this population. So all of this thanks is for you all to thank you all for supporting this program, for all the volunteers that have joined this program, and all you've done as a partnership to be able to provide this food over the past 3 months. What we are hearing, people are overwhelmingly happy, satisfied, grateful that we're here. I didn't include all the comments because so much of it was just thank you, thank you, thank you. But it was really thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing this program to the senior community. And so I just wanted to thank you all for the partnership and that your passionate dedication to making this happen we're already seeing the direct benefit for the community and the community feedback of how grateful the folks are that we're doing this program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
You want to say anything about Hunger Action Month?
How did you know that I had one more
Yes.
secret slide
Yes.
left? How did you know? So, I was going to leave it on this for everyone to read their woven legal comments, but then, yes, September is Hunger Action Month, so we have just started Hunger Action Month. And we've already gotten our first piece of press around Hunger Action Month. It calls out the Senior Center, so I included that, but if anyone hasn't seen Inside Longmont this session, this quarter, I think it was timed to come out so that it'll be over Hunger Action Month. We have a mention of the Senior Center distributions and a photo from it, so that is wonderful. And then we've got 2 more publications in the works that should be coming out this month as well, and we're trying to get a piece in the Times Call. So part of Hunger Action Month is just around awareness raising, letting folks know this is a month where we're going to try to direct people's focus to how they can plug into solutions in their communities to alleviate and reduce hunger. And so, of course, our program here at the Senior Center is a great opportunity to highlight the work that's being done now here. And so we're trying to get more mentions of the Senior Center program in our press. And then we're also grateful that you all are helping us co-host a food drive here. So we've got food drive donation signs, and I'm going to make a few more custom tailored signs, including things like the nuts and oatmeal and tortillas that were seen in that survey of additional items that we might want to see at this food drive. We have a list of the most helpful food types that we'll be putting out with the bins. I think we're going to be setting that up after this meeting, right? Okay, yeah, I've got all of that stuff in my car. So all of the food that's donated through the food drive here will go into the Senior Center food distribution in October. So it's going to be food from the senior community to the senior community. So basically the folks who have extra and want to share through this food drive will go directly to feeding other seniors who need food access through our program. So we have other Hunger Action Month opportunities to get involved with our work, of course, to volunteer outside of the Senior Center distribution, but we are certainly highlighting this September Senior Center distribution this month as one of the big actions folks can take.
Any questions? Thank you, Naomi.
As we're looking ahead and starting into the fall and into the winter months, do you anticipate that we're going to see a lot more of the canned foods as compared to the produce?
So the way that we operate as a rescue organization, don't see a ton of non-perishable donations unless we are doing a food drive. So this food drive and some of the other food drives that we've done this summer, those canned or non-perishable go into our programs to supplement. So like in this photo here, you see that pasta sauce and the pasta at the bottom of the screen. That was from a food drive. That was non-perishable food. And I brought that. I had looked through what we had received from the food drive and pulled things that I thought our senior community would particularly use after having heard feedback of, oh, we already get so many canned vegetables, or we want fresh produce. So these were things to supplement that fresh produce. So those are the types of things that we'll be trying to list out in these promotions for the food drive. But we really still, even in the winter months, since we're relying on food donations that are just in time donated, it's less farmers market at a certain point, and local farms, but still those grocery stores. In this program, we are bringing food mostly from grocery stores. Very rarely do we get the farm donations alongside this. So it'll be seasonal based on what you're seeing in the grocery stores.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And you'll get copies of this?
Yeah, I will email the PDF. This is just a PDF export of this slideshow so everyone can get a copy of that PDF.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work and all your volunteer work.
Yeah, well
Really
done.
wonderful.
Yeah, thank
Seeing
you all.
people,
You all
your
have been-
staff in action is wonderful.
Yeah. All right. I'll close this down now. I don't know if anyone else has a presentation to give.
No,
So this meeting goes until noon, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to participate in any more of it? Should I go and come back after noon to do the setup with you and check those rooms
Yeah,
out
please.
after noon?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to just eject my media and then I'll be able to head out.
Just for the food drive. She wants to set up some table or booth bins for the food drive.
Yeah, the signage of the bins for the food drive.
All right. Hilda,
Yeah.
you're almost up.
Are you ready for me?
I think we're ready.
Thanks.
I'm sure everybody here knows who you are, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Hilda, and I am the division manager for Children, Youth, and Families. So, our youth division for City of Longmont. And Ronnie invited me here where we've been doing a lot of talking about collaboration and a lot of talking about intergenerational programming. And so we thought it would be really helpful for you to know a little bit about who we are and what we do and who we serve. So how many of you, I'm just curious, how many of you are familiar with the Youth Center? Where we are, what we do? A few of you. Okay, cool. I'm glad I'm here then. So we are located on Lashley Street. That is right between the YMCA and Timberline Elementary School. So it's Centennial Park. So we are that big orange building that you see smack dab in the middle of the park on Lashley. And so if you're driving by around 3 o'clock, we are usually the building that is making the most noise with kids running around and playing soccer and volleyball and all of the things outside. And so, yeah, this is our building. This is our team. So right now we have a team of 17. So this is an older picture, and not all of our team is here. So we are a team that is made up of 99% of our staff is bilingual and bicultural. The youth that we serve are, I want to say, maybe about more than half of the youth that we serve are bilingual. About, I want to say about 10% of the youth that we serve are monolingual Spanish speakers. So the youth center was created in 1984. We were, so we are 40 years old. It came out of some gang activity that was happening in the 80s, and a team of people, community members, came together to come up with a creative solution of where could kids go after school and stay out of trouble. Where would be a place where they can come and get services and get a good, healthy place to be, where they are going to stay out of gangs, stay out of violence. And so this is where the Youth Center was born, and it has undergone a couple of transformations in the process. So our mission is to strengthen Longmont by supporting families, children, and youth to grow together and build lasting connections. Through safe spaces, meaningful programs, and dependable support, we foster a resilient and inclusive community. Every young person is recognized as a vital contributor with opportunities to use their voice, develop confidence, and learn to lead. So we have, touch on 5 different areas. We work in mental health, early childhood, youth development, community response, and family engagement. And I will go through all of those and give you a little definition of what all those mean. So who we serve? We serve all of Longmont youth. And this year, I am so happy to say, we worked so incredibly hard to get a bus driver. We have 3 vans. And we have hired a bus driver who works with us part-time. We are picking up from 3 schools and then Countryside Village. And so we are picking up youth after school, bringing them to the youth center, because one of the biggest feedbacks that we've been getting over the years is that we would love to go there because you guys are doing amazing things, but we can't get there. I don't drive. We don't have, my kids can't get there, or I'm not going to go drive across town to pick them up at 6 o'clock at night because I'm just barely getting off of work and I've got kids to feed. And so we started this program to be able to transport youth. So we're picking them up at school, bringing them to the youth center, letting them participate in the programs, and then at 5:30 when our programs end, we drop them back off in their neighborhood. And so we have that agreement with parents. They know exactly where the kids are being dropped off, and then this way they've got a trip back to their home too. So it's not just we bring them to the youth center and then figure out how you're going to get there. And so our transportation program, we've worked with RISC and we've worked with our attorneys to make sure that we are doing this in a way that is safe for the kids. We have agreements with the parents. We have just a conversation with the parents even before the kids get on the bus, so that parents know exactly what's expected and exactly where, what's going on and how it is. And we have got good phone numbers to be able to contact them as well. So we are, CYF is very uniquely located right on one of the census tracts that has the highest vulnerability index in all of the state. We are kids that are feeding into these 2 schools. So Timberline is the K through 8th grade school, and then Skyline is the high school. So Timberline has an 80% free and reduced lunch percentage. Skyline has 60% free and reduced lunch percentage. When you look at the vulnerability index for this area, and this is like the youth centers here, and we're talking about across the street from the youth center all the way out to Main Street, these are the kind of things that our youth are experiencing. So when you look at the opioid rate in Colorado, it's 9% per 100,000 people. In this area, it is 28. The poverty rate in the state of Colorado is 93. Our poverty rate in this area is 146 people per 100,000. Teen pregnancy, 16.8 versus 7 statewide. Our dropout rate in St. Vrain is 7.2% versus a state average of 1.9. And our food insecurity, 2.7, thank you. And then the food insecurity concentrated in this area is much higher as well. And so this is one of the reasons why we prioritize working with youth that have barriers to care, barriers to transportation. And so, mental health is one of the areas that we serve, and everything that we do, everything that we provide, all of the programs, all of the field trips, all of the mental health services, these are all free of charge to the parents, and all of the meals too, because we are working with Ronnie really hard to provide that nutritious meals for kids after school as well.
Hilda,
Yes.
I'm assuming you're going to go into some of those statistics a little bit later, but what are you guys doing, or can you do, to talk about teen pregnancy?
So this is the next slide, and so
Okay.
I'm not going to get into the statistics because the statistics are what they are. This is our community, and so the best that we can do is provide as much support and information, and just hold the space for kids that are coming in, that we know that the environment in which they live in is it's hard. It's a hard environment, and so providing a space where you have kids that are from 11 to 18 years old and they can just be kids. They don't have to babysit their siblings. They can come in and they can play pool, and they can do music, and they can play soccer, and they can just be kids for a little while and get some good food. That is probably the most important thing that we can do for them. A place where they're safe, where their parents can send them and they know that they're going to be in an okay place for the next 3 hours every day after school. So one of the models that we have here is actually similar to what you have here at the senior center, and it's that integrated healthcare model. So it's providing that healthcare, that mental health care in a place where they're comfortable. There is so much stigma that happens with going to a community mental health, where kids will be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want to go to see therapy. I don't want to go see a therapist. But these are also kids that are making relationships with our therapists there. So what we'll get is I don't want to see a therapist, but I'll talk to Bree. I don't want to see a therapist, but I'll talk to Elsa. And what they'll do is they'll come and they'll hang out and they'll be playing with their friends. And what tends to happen are the kids that are needing it the most tend to migrate into our therapist's office. And so we will find on a given afternoon, we will have one therapist with 3 kids sitting there, and it is not a structured group therapy. It is a place because they need to come and hang out. One of the things that we do is when they come in and they check in for attendance, we will ask them, kind of give us your rating of how are you feeling today. Sad and worried are 2 of the ones that are on that checklist. And so if we've got a youth that checks off sad or worried, it's going to ping one of our therapists to say, you know what, John came in today and he's feeling a little sad, he's feeling a little off. And we'll have the therapist loop around to come check in with them. Or they also can check a box to say, do you want to talk to somebody today? If they say yes, then a therapist will come right away and they'll come in like, hey, how can we check in with you?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So how does that tie into situations where they might be in an abusive environment at home, or some sort of neglect from their parents?
Mm-hmm.
And how does that get dealt with? I know there's mandatory reporting if you're a certain... Can you explain how that might... Because maybe some of these kids do come from...
Exactly, and which is one of the reasons why it's a good and it's anonymous place for them to say, yes, I do want to talk with someone. I do want to sit with a therapist, and our therapists they're trained, they're licensed to sit down with the youth. And so this was my role for 7 years before I was manager, and so the very first step there is to sit down and find out what the problem is what's going on at home. And if it is a situation where it is a mandated reporting, the first thing we're going to let the kids know is, look, I am a mandated reporter and I am concerned. I am concerned about what's happening at home. I am concerned about your safety. And so I am not only legally required, but it is my responsibility to make sure that you're okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a phone call, and we're going to call Child Protective Services so that they can do the research, so that they can do the investigation to make sure that you're okay and that you're safe. And then we'll sit down with the youth and say, okay, how do you want to make this happen? You can sit down with me, we can make this call together. I can call your parents and they can come in and we can have that conversation with your parent. How is it that you want to, what is going to be the safest place for you and the safest way to make this happen? Do you need this to be anonymous? And so we, again, these are middle schoolers and high schoolers. We like to give them that autonomy because they know what's safe. They know what's at home. I don't know what's at home. And so really giving them, empowering them to be able to do what's best for them, but working within the law of having to mandate. So that is the non-negotiable. I have to make this call. Let's work together to make it. Because one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to isolate them. We don't want to say, they trust us, and then that evening you got CPS knocking at their door and they're never going to talk to us again. And so one of the things that's the most important piece is to maintain that trust. And so working together with them and working together with the families is the most important piece.
I would add that this team has done such, just the way that they have utilized technology and meeting kids where they are, so kids actually check in with a QR code.
Yeah.
And that's how a therapist ends up getting pinged. If a kid says they're sad, depressed, like if they rate themselves on a scale. And then it pings on the back end, pings a clinician to then say, I'm gonna go check in with John.
Right.
And so Hilda has done an amazing job just meeting kids where they're at and come up with some really creative solutions to do that. Where kids don't, it's just natural for them, right? Like they scan a QR code and do what they, and so she has done a great job with, along with Ronnie, just on the data tracking piece of it. How can we use the technology that is there for us to then be able to intervene? And so we've seen that through kind of the trends that Ronnie is studying, using QR codes to do this. This is it's amazing to me that just how this has developed. So.
Yeah. That QR code takes the burden off of kids
Oh my goodness,
to make that step to say, I need to go talk to an adult.
Absolutely.
They can check a box and an adult will come to them. A licensed therapist will come to them and say, how can we talk?
They can do the QR code anytime or
it is required when they come in that this is how we track attendance. They come in and everybody is like, okay guys, did you do your attendance? Did you log in yet? And so it is required for all of the kids that come through that they do that check-in. So we know who is there and how they're doing today.
That's great.
So another area that we work in is early childhood. And so our early childhood kind of looks in a couple of different ways. We work with advocacy and outreach. So we have hosted, we've hosted two summits, early childhood summits so far. And the purpose of these early childhood summits is really to get information from the community as far as what they need, and so that we can look at what's happening in Longmont and really be strategic about where it is the support is needed. And so the first early childhood summit was really focused on child care providers, our licensed care providers, and what we learned from that was that there was a need for more data gathering and more places where we can get information around what is happening in early childhood in Longmont. And so the team got together, they got creative under Christina's leadership, and they created a dashboard to say, okay, where are looking at all of our child care providers, where are our child care deserts, where is the need, what is happening. And this is a tool that is now community facing, so that parents can go on there if they're looking for child care providers, they're looking for information around early childhood. This is a place, a resource for them. Through that dashboard, what we learned was 61% of our child care providers are friends, families, and neighbors. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, the person across the street who also has a kid. And so that is that not licensed child care providers. And so really when you look at friends, families, and neighbor providers, these are the providers that have the least amount of resources. They don't have access to grants. They don't have access to the resources that might be out there for them. So what we did is we needed to know, okay, so what do these providers need? And so we had another summit. And the other summit was for friends, families, and neighbor providers. And what we learned was they want more education, they want more support, they want more supplies, they want connection with each other, they want a collaborative group. And so Jenny Diaz-Leon is our community coordinator, Pina's daughter actually, and she is the one who is working in early childhood. And so she has been working with the county, so they put in for a joint grant. And so she, along with, help me with the acronym, Christina.
Childhood Council of Boulder County?
Yes, thank you, that one. Have been doing a program called Rooted in Care. And so they, I think they are now on their third cohort where they are providing training and grants and resources for early childhood, for FFN providers. And so so they're getting instruction on early childhood development, they're getting instruction on school readiness, and so from there, those cohorts, what we're working on doing is continuing to do what we're hoping to do is search for more grants to be able to continue this work. And so now these families that have gone through, these FFM providers that have gone through these cohorts, be able to bring them together and continue that ongoing support. So one of the challenges we're facing right now is there is a freeze in the Colorado childhood CCAP, and so CCAP is the organization that provides child care assistance for low-income families. And so right now there is a freeze. So if you have a family that is low income that is having a baby right now, child care is the costs are incredibly expensive, and finding care, people are relying way more on grandparents, on aunts, on uncles, on family members, and so there is a growing need for support for our FFM providers. So this is what we want to do. We want to take these cohorts and continue that support for them, and this is one of our biggest pushes right now with providing support for our early childhood. The other thing that we do is CYF manages 2 grants that go out into our community. One is goes out to Front Range Community College, and these are for people that are pursuing educations in early childhood. And so it helps with things like translation, it helps with things like being able to buy their books, being able to buy the materials that are needed to be able to finish their classes. And so that's what this grant supports. And the purpose of this is really to build, that was the thing that we found in that first summit, was that we are we need to build our capacity in our early childhood providers, and so more licensed providers, and so being able to take care of some of those barriers so that more people can go and get educated that want to get into early childhood education. The other thing that the Youth Center does is it provides the managing of $25,000 annually that goes to the 529 Jump program, and these are for families that have students that are K3, and we're looking this year to actually push that to K5, and so they receive a $50 scholarship when they invest in a college investment account. And so they open a college investment account, and then they are given $50 to go towards those funds. One of the things that we are hoping to do in 2026, actually we just got funded for it, is to do another summit, because we're in this place where we've got that freeze on CCAP, and we need to hear from parents. We need to hear from families to say, okay, what is it that you need? Where are your gaps? How is it that we can support? How is it that we can support you, families? If you don't have a person who is an FFN, maybe we can help with those connections. But really, learning from our community, learning from our parents that have kids that are in that 0 to 5 range. What is it that they need? And so that's for 2026, and that's going to be our next summit to really help direct where we go next with early childhood. Any questions about early childhood?
I'd add the other thing that Jenny is working on is kind of setting the structure or the foundation as housing develops. to have early childhood co-located within our housing developments. And so she's currently working on the Ascent at Hover Crossing, and that's a partnership with Wild Plum. And so they have a grant from the Colorado Health Foundation, and Jenny is working on the outreach and engagement piece of things to make sure that families that need that service, because she's so tied into the community, she's really perfect to do that. She's going to help us make sure that that facility, those funds are.
So our after-school program is more than just, it's more than just a place for kids to come and hang out after school. We have, like under that after-school umbrella, we've got quite a few programs that are operating within that. So we have that come and hang out place. We really see that as prevention. So as kids come and they've got a place to be where they are learning leadership skills, where they are learning, there's such, I cannot overemphasize the importance of practicing social skills, of really just being in a place with other kids that some of them you might like and some of them that you don't, and how is it that you are going to have this conversation with somebody who's maybe facilitating that restorative conversation and teaching you the skills to be able to have a conversation with somebody instead of just popping them in the face. This is incredibly important, and what happens and what we've seen post-COVID is that kids, they locked in, and it was about video games, and it was about staying home, it was about, if you had siblings, at least you got to practice with your siblings. But if you don't have that didn't happen. And when you think about development for the kids that are coming in now, these kids, they were in early childhood. So these are the kids that were kindergarten, first, second grade during the pandemic, and think about everything you learned. Kindergarten, first, second grade. You are learning how to interact with other humans. You are learning how to share. You are learning how to have conversations. You are learning how to be in that spot and not continue to touch someone who doesn't want to be touched. And what we're finding is those skills have not been learned, and they are 11 years old. And so those skills that we see in our first, second, third graders we're seeing them in our 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And so really having to provide the coaching and the skill building around this is how you get along with other humans. And so right now this is incredibly important. And you'll see that with our next slide when I talk about rewind. So the zone is that place where they can come and hang out. I had a parent come and really put it really well. She said, when I was growing up, I used to just go over to my friend's house and we would just go and hang out, and we'd have a group of us come and hang out. And that's how I learned how to get along with my friends. She says, my son doesn't have that. Parents don't want that anymore. What parent wants to open their house to a bunch of 13-year-olds if they're at work? It's not gonna happen. And so they need or just want a bunch of 13-year-olds hanging out at their house eating all of their food. And so she says this is just a perfect place. It provides that after-school hangout space that we had when we were growing up that was incredibly valuable that they just don't have. So part of so that is that social piece of what we do in our prevention programming. The other part is we've got career development and leadership programs. So we have a music studio, and kids. It's a professional recording studio where kids, they've got a little soundproof room. They can go and they can sing and they can record their music. We've got drum sets. We've got guitars. We've got keyboards, and we've got Ben, who is the guy who's being splashed at the bottom of the screen. Watching him work with the kids is absolutely magical. I have never seen a person be able to take a group of people who have never touched an instrument and make magic happen. So he will sit down and say, okay, Eric, here, I'm going to give you a guitar. I want you to play this chord. And ma'am, what's your name? What's your
Maria.
name? Maria. Okay, play this. I want you to hit this beat. You hear this beat? I want you to play this beat. You hear this chord? You're gonna play this chord on the piano, and before you know it, the three of you are making music together. And it is amazing to watch him work. And they feel so good. They feel so good about the work that they're doing. And these are kids that have never picked up an instrument before, and it's just fun.
I've always called him the Pied Piper. Like, literally, that is
Right.
He is, yeah. Amazing.
So within that program, there is a program that's called the Studio Bosses, where kids they're learning leadership skills, and they are learning how to run the studio. And so when they have gone through, and they have gone through this leadership program, they're able to bring in two kids that have never been in the studio before and mentor them and teach them and show them how to use the instruments and show them how to use the studio. We have our youth advisory group that is our group that looks at, it's basically it's a group like you. It's a steering committee for our youth center, where we have a group of youth that are informing, yes, these are the kind of events we need to be at. This is the kind of things that we need to do. These are the kind of programs that we need, and these are the kind of food that we need to do, and how is it that we can get involved, and how is it that we can volunteer. And then we have our youth council that works with council member Ilago Faring, who is our and really thinking about youth voice citywide and being able to contribute that youth voice citywide and kind of give that youth perspective there. And then within our after school program, we have our interventions too. So I'm going to go to our rewind slide and give you a little bit of information there, and then go back to our prevention. So what rewind is, and how are we doing time-wise? I'm talking a lot. Okay. Are we doing okay time-wise? Okay. So how many of you are familiar with the rewind program or heard of it in any way, shape, or form? Okay, just two of you. Okay. So what the rewind program is so youth in Longmont. This is a testament of how progressive the city is, and I absolutely love it. So youth, when they have contact with police because of some kind of legal infraction, instead of being given a ticket, they are given a referral into the Rewind program. In the Rewind program, they are able to basically get a second chance. Christina calls them speed bumps. So what we're doing is we're providing speed bumps that are in the way before they get into the criminal justice system. Christina and under the direction of Harold, Christina and Tara, who is the chief of probation, got together and looked at what they were looking at was the youth that were youth of color were going into the criminal justice at a higher rate than kids that were more affluent. They were given more chances for diversion programs like LCJP, like Bright, Collaborative. And so what they wanted to do is make this more equitable. And so through the course of many years and some really great collaborative work, they have come up with one point of entry. And so now, in order to eliminate any kind of bias, any kind of disadvantages because of economics or lack of family support or whatever it is, all of the kids are go into Rewind at one point. From there, and there are some exceptions for community safety, and officers absolutely have some discretion. But there is from going into the program. The kids are then taken to an orientation where the parents are, they show up, they learn a little bit about the program, they learn about what's going on, and it's a voluntary program. They can go ahead and they can, if they choose to get involved, the next step from there for them is an assessment where it's more of an interview or a conversation with the parents and with the youth. What we're looking at is we're taking a 3-month snapshot of what is happening in their life, what is happening at home, what is happening at school, how are they functioning socially, how are they functioning with their mental health, and what is happening in their environment. And then what we do is we get together with a multidisciplinary team that includes our therapists, our program specialists. Bright Collaborative is there, and We've got an outside therapist, an art therapist who comes and joins our team, probation, Tara, chief of probation, and our case managers. We all get together, and we the person who did the assessment, they bring that case to the team, and we have a conversation about what is going to be the best thing that is going to serve this family. What we are looking at is not the behavior, because the behavior is just a symptom. It's just what's popping up over here. What we're looking at is what is happening in the system. What is happening at home? What is happening with mental health? What is happening socially? What is happening at school? And what kind of intervention can we provide to be able to support this youth to keep them from from committing another infraction or having another run-in with the law? Because our goal is to meet their need here, so that they don't have to hit another speed bump. Okay. And part of this is that prevention program. Part of it is the interventions. We have 20 different interventions that we do, and those are all in-house. Those are our program specialists. Those are our therapists that are doing these. I think Bright Collaborative does a intervention. They do one, and then we've got our art therapist who also does one as well. But the bulk of those 20 interventions that we do within CYF. And it is blended very nicely in our after-school program. So they come to the after-school program, they get a meal, they go off to their groups, they do their interventions, and with that goal of when they're done with their interventions, part of what we loop in is connecting them back to that after-school program, connecting them back to the fun, connecting them, because what we want is for them to come back. We want them to go and do their interventions, learn what they need to learn, but we want this to be a fun place for them so that they want to be here and they continue to want to be here. So that is the Rewind program, and that is kind of all encompassed in our after-school programming. Do you have any questions about Rewind?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think, what we saw before is that we had restorative justice, and that's where some kids were getting referred. And what we have now is, as Hilda mentioned, that we've developed the 20 other interventions, and restorative justice is still a part of that. If a youth needs to make amends with the community, they can do that. But it's about, like she said, getting to the root cause of the behavior. Like, why are we seeing this kind of behavior? And so I think, over the last, how many years? 2018 is when we started.
Yeah.
You've seen thousands of kids through this program.
Yes.
It's been amazing. The team is they're amazing.
And when you think about where you are developmentally at 12, 13, 14 years old, mistakes are going to happen. You're going, and there's another piece too, and I know I can say this to you because you will understand me. Like, there were things that I did when I was growing up that I probably would have gotten a ticket for if it had happened today. Things like getting in a fight at school. I don't know about any of you, but I got into my scraps when I was in elementary school and middle school. That would have given me a criminal record today. So when you think about those things that are happening, that happened to us developmentally when we were growing up, it's criminalized today. And kids deserve that opportunity to have, to say, okay, I made this mistake. That was a bad idea. I'm not doing that again. And have that not be held against them for the rest of their life. To be able to have that place where they can reset, they can learn, they can learn how to have better coping skills instead of hitting somebody, having those conversations, those kind of things, and or, the kids that are experimenting with substances have that opportunity to say, okay, let me sit down with you and let's talk about what THC looks like today versus, before, when, it's not just a plant that grows out of a ground, it's 90% THC, and being that it's 90% THC, let me show you what it's doing to your brain, and giving them the information so that they can make better informed decisions about what it is that they're putting in their body. Oh, that's me. Thank you. The other part, so we could not be complete if we did not engage families, if we did not support parents, if we did not help parents, because youth on their own are just a little piece of the puzzle. Their parents, their families, this is what's going to make that lasting change. It's that environmental change that happens. And so we have a very robust family engagement program. So we have Circle of Security is a program they do 4 to 5 a year, depending on demand, that really talks about attachment and talks about the relationship building with your child and how that attachment with your child and that relationship with your child affects not only them when they're little, but affects them into adulthood. And Raul, who is he is a family therapist that works with Kaiser, and he comes and he does our classes, and he's been doing it for how many years now, Christina?
Since 10 years. No, 13 years.
Okay. He has seen like a number of families and a number of kids, and what he does is he really brings that to the parents about like, how were you raised, and how are you translating how you've been raised into how you're raising your kids, and how is that working? And so really working with parents and how it is that they show up for their kids, and understanding how that dynamic works, and how maybe the way we did it when my parents did it, they did the best they could, but maybe this is not something I need to carry forward with my kids, and really kind of giving them that baseline. The other group that we do, and we'll do one in English and one in Spanish a year, it's called Community Reinforcement and Family Training. It's our craft class, and this is really focused for families whose youth are using substances or engaging in risky behaviors. So you've got youth that are running away, youth that are perhaps texting older men online, youth that are using substances. This is going to help families really set those boundaries while maintaining relationship. Once a week during the mornings, Kalia Orona, our family engagement specialist, she has a women's wellness group where she brings women in. They will do Zumba, they will have breakfast, they will go on walks, they will bring their kids, and it really is just that place where moms that are stay-at-home moms can build community, they can get connections with each other, and do things for themselves while engaging with each other. We have once a quarter, we'll do a group that's called We All Want Our Kids to Be Safe, where we're inviting our youth, our parents of the youth that are involved in gangs, to come and get some gang education. We partner with one of our officers. Actually, he's right now the acting commander for our our SIU Special Investigation Unit. His name is Russell, and he will come and he will co-facilitate this group and talk to parents and let them know what the warning signs are, what are some things they should be looking at on their Facebook, on their, what's going on social media, what are some of the, colors and things like that you need to be looking out for. The families that come to this are typically referred to us from our safety resource officers that are in schools to say, you know what, I'm concerned about this kid, let's reach out to this family. And so they'll give that list to Ben, and we'll outreach those parents and have them, invite them to come have some dinner and have a conversation and talk about how to keep their kids safe. And then the other thing that we do monthly is we do family dinners and family field trips, and just 2 weekends ago, we had a family game night where they came and played lottery, and it was amazing. We had 12 families that showed up for this, and you had kids that were so incredibly excited just to see their parents in that space, and they're playing pool together, and they're playing foosball together, and they're playing board games together, and it really is just creating a place where they can come, get some dinner, bring the whole family, and just hang out. We are right now, we've seen a 20% increase from last year to this year. We are seeing 40 to 50 kids every day coming into the youth center, and that number is growing. And like every day, it is just a little bit more robust and it's a little bit louder. And so there is definitely a need for what's happening. And it's amazing to be in this place right now because we have this lull after COVID. And so we are finally at a place right now, I think, where everyone is, they're out and they're engaging again, and they're I don't know, they're back. The kids are back. It's really nice. We do community outreach too. Once a year, we do something that's called a Life Skills Fair, where we bring in different professionals around the community to come and teach kids whatever it is. It was some new skill. Last year we had the judge that was there that was teaching the kids how to tie a tie. The year before that it was Harold who was there teaching kids how to tie a tie. Waste management comes and they bring one of their trucks, and so the kids can come and kind of lift the basket up and down. We've got the Humane Society there. This picture right here, this is our Longmont, our public media, and they had a green screen, and so they teaching kids about recording and things like that. So this one was held at the Boulder County Fairgrounds, and that was, and we're hoping to get another one this year. So we'll do another Life Skills Fair this year. But we had 300 kids attend last year to this Youth Life Skills Fair, and I am done. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
I have about 14.
Yes. We can chat after.
I'll ask a couple. So you're talking with the Senior Citizens Advisory Board at the Senior Center right
Yes.
now. And I'm curious, from conversations you've had with Ronnie or other staff, or from what the board here thinks, what programs that you've presented on here or that you know about that you didn't share with us today, like where could there be a collaboration that happens between seniors and youth?
The multi-generational piece, I think, is huge. It's that prevention programming, and I've had conversations with Ryan as well around like how is it that we can join what it is that we do and bring in you have amazing pool players. And we have 2 pool tables, and to be able to bring our seniors into our youth and be able to make those connections, being able to, let me see, there was a year that Brandy
I think
came.
you're proposing like a battle of youth versus seniors.
I think we need some tutorials first. Because you have a lot of the youth that have never, they don't know how to play pool, and just even that instructional piece.
We're using our recording studio to record
Yes.
oral histories. I think it's something we've attempted to do in the past. Like, is there something that Ryan and Erica could look at? Doing oral histories.
Exactly.
Kids that know how to work the recording studio, and seniors that have so much life experience and wonderful stories.
Exactly.
How could we do something like that?
And I don't want to neglect the piece that families are connected units, and so
Yes.
grandparents and kids and teenagers, you cannot separate them. They are intricately connected. And so if we, and I think recognizing that too, as we think about doing programming together, being able to have grandparents bring their grandkids to the thing that they do, and it's something that they celebrate and do together, is something it's amazing and it's huge. And I think that there's, okay, I'm not gonna get on my soapbox, but I think there's a need, honestly, to really think about families as a unit. Instead of its silos. Yes, we have programming for seniors, and yes, we have programming for youth, but there is a whole spectrum in between, and they are a unit. And I think that if we respect them as a unit, and we think about programming as a unit, and we think about serving our community as a unit, I think the community just grows stronger.
Like, there's a really competitive ping pong tournament happening right next to us right now.
Exactly.
What if it was a senior and youth team that had to be formed?
Absolutely.
Like situation, right, where you kind of force that pairing. I mean, the other interesting thing is these days you have families spreading out more geographically, and not just in Longmont. So you have this intergenerational community, but sometimes it's not the same family. Right? And you could pull together different generations of folks who aren't related in a community as well. So there's one thought there. I'd be curious to hear from other board members, like where might there be opportunities? The life skills fair, for instance, like comes to mind as like for the next one. Like, is there programming where like seniors could be leading some of those sessions? Because let's face it, not everyone knows how to do everything, and that's the whole point. And then the last thing, and I'm just spitballing on the child care piece of this, but I'm just wondering if there are opportunities, even if it's just events that take the child care responsibilities off of families for or working parents for just even a morning.
That's a really good point.
If there are opportunities where there are certain events that are hosted here or in collaboration with the youth center to just reduce some of that burden.
Utilizing that volunteer base, too.
Absolutely.
I think an important thing for us to acknowledge as well in the work and conversations we've had through senior services and CYF and human services as a whole is just that acknowledgement as well. In our community, our reality is there's a lot of grandparents raising grandkids, and providing those opportunities to where we want to have that inclusive space where those who are that is their reality have opportunities to bring in their grandkids, as Hilda mentioned, for our programs to share with them.
Yeah, it's not the X Games, it's the Grand Games.
Right.
That's right, exactly.
Grandchildren and grandparents together, and the billiards and things.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at, and this is what I was hunting for, was the pictures from our Native American Heritage Celebration from last year. Yes, when you look, I took some pictures of, you have these long tables where they're getting together, and you've got people you've got little ones, you've got teenagers, and you've got, seniors all sitting together at the same table doing the same project. And so that is just this perfect example of bringing whole multi-generational units to come and do events and celebrate with each other and learn from each other and pass the crayons. It's fantastic.
Hilda, has there been any collaboration with any assisted living or senior centers around Longmont with your programs? You've got a lot of seniors living in these facilities, right? And it seems like there might be an opportunity to get them more engaged. Some of them simply can't,
right,
because of the disabilities, but there are probably some that would love to be able to have some level of interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the conversation that Ronnie and I have been having of how do we do this? How do we do this outreach? How do we have these conversations where we're able to do that? We're able to bring the different populations together, because it absolutely serves them both. I had a great conversation, and I forget her name. I am so sorry. It's Ryan, and who is your other recreation? Valerie. Yes, I had a great conversation with Valerie, and we were talking about different programs, different things that we can do. She says, "Well, we have to be careful." She says, because some of the elderly people in our population, she says, they don't have the fine motor anymore, and then they don't feel good about what it is that they're doing, and what I told her, it's like, well, that's our kids too. We have some kids that are at the youth center that don't have great fine motor, and they have dysgraphia, and there's other things that are happening, and that really what that does is that's where the magic happens. Because when you have somebody who's a senior who has these great ideas and they have these strengths, and then you have youth that can maybe help with this one area that, because the senior can't do it. This is where that working happens. This is where that collaboration happens. This is where that relationship building happens. This is where the giggling happens. This is where the playing happens, and that's where the relationship building happens. And so I think not shying away from those kind of things, but really embracing them and letting humans just do human things and connect with each other.
This is the first meeting I've been in a while where the word giggling has been used. Maybe at some point, has it ever happened where has the Children, Youth and Families Board and Senior Citizens Advisory Board ever met collectively?
I don't think so.
No, we haven't yet. I think that would be amazing. I think that would be
great.
Yeah.
And some of the programs, like the Loteria, the grandmas bring the grandkids, because some of the Hispanics grandmas take care of the grandkids. Most of them.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that would be a great, like that women's wellness group. I think connecting with even with Claudia Orona and some of like our family, the family work that we do. I mean, that is a great connection right there, because I am a grandma who has 3 kids living with me right now, and that is. It's hard work. It's hard work. And not only is it hard work, it's isolating. And there are things that, other people that are my age, they can't relate. I can't relate to them. They can't relate to me, because my life looks very different right now, because I've got 3 kids under the age of 5 living in my home right now. And so being able to connect and collaborate with people that are going through the same thing that you are, it's incredibly valuable.
Something daughter wrote and was intergenerational CEPs, cultural enrichment programs. Because we did the tie-dye. Why couldn't we have tie-dye with seniors and with kids coming
There's
together?
a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely. And that was the point, Matthew, to come today, was to be able to say, look, this is what we're doing, and how can we put our heads together and do more? How can we put our heads together and bring our divisions together to really work together and to just strengthen our community? Because the stronger the families, the stronger the community, honestly.
Hilda, thank you so much. That was an incredible presentation.
Yes.
Lots of information.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Item C on our new business, September proclamation. We talked about this. You've got a copy of it. I'd like to have a motion to have this okayed by the board so we can present it to the city council. You all got a copy of the proclamation?
Yeah.
So I'd like a motion to.
I move.
John, do you have any?
I did. Second?
I'll second.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Are we, and I understand we're talking about that food for all ages, and I understand it's for everybody. Are we in any way going to say anything about the fact that we have started this senior food table and how well it is doing, or is that not something we want to talk to the council about?
It didn't seem appropriate for the request to make the overall just under action month. I gave it to Naomi to take a look at it. She didn't want to include it. I don't know why. We certainly can. If you want to add it in here, I'm happy to do it.
I think in a proclamation you would not do it.
Specifically.
What we talk about?
Yeah, in general.
I mean,
Okay. So was there motions seconded?
Yeah.
Vote please. Aye. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Quickly, board updates, vacancy updates. We have several vacancies coming up. If you have people you think would be appropriate to interview for the advisory board, please send them to me, or I get one from Arlene, and anybody else has any ideas. We'll start to get these people interviewed so we can get them in front of the city council.
So question, since my term comes up at the end of this year, because it was only a 1-year term, what process same process as anyone else? Or?
you have to reapply.
Yeah.
When it opens up, it hasn't opened up yet.
It hasn't opened up
Yeah,
yet.
it'll open up this month though, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so you
you-
just have to reapply. If
Yeah,
you're
that.
interested, if you know.
What's that?
Love to have you reapply.
Oh, I will.
We're keeping the seat
Like it or
warm.
not. No.
All right.
So, John, I have a question.
Yes.
And this is really kind of going with a couple of times I've been to Friends. And they've been really open about what they're looking for, you know, the kind of things that they're kind of looking for in a board person. And I wonder if we want to even kind of look at that, not particularly this time, maybe think about it. And also, can we take a look at questions, and can we be involved in maybe updating the questions or giving some input as far as the board goes towards the questions that are asked the people?
It's a great idea to get some criteria. So I'd ask people next week or so to submit what you'd like to see, especially people going off the board, what you think, what strengths we could use here on the board going forward. Submit those to me, and I'll put some things together and have it to you for the next meeting. That's a great idea.
And those all have to, those all have to read that through the clerk's office, so once we submit it to you, get that over to me, so that way I can get their eyes on it for approval, before we move forward. with
Further questions?
For the, yeah, the clerk's office really oversees the recruitment and you know, the process for recruiting advisory board members. So we just want to make sure to run it through the clerk's office.
What's the date to get those to you to get
It
to you?
hasn't opened yet,
Right.
so maybe within the next few weeks, then that way you have it and they would have it within
Right.
enough time.
So historically, we have done interviews at the beginning of November, so decisions made by mid-November. So we conduct all interviews, plenty of time for applications to come through, to be reviewed by the interview committee, which we still need to identify. Decisions made mid-November, they are, I think at that point, approved in December for
They go
for
in front of
January.
council, I think, in
Yeah.
December, yeah.
So I would say before November.
I
Well,
would say
I'm sorry.
by the end of September, so that.
Yeah, so I have time to review, yeah.
So then are we allowed to look at the questions and even suggest, or is that something no, that the board is not allowed to do?
So I think two-part, and I can double check on this and get back to, respond to everybody by email. I think for that review process, I think it has to be the interview committee to be a part of that. What I mean is, that way, they are the ones who are reviewing all applications, right, applicants. I think it's important for those questions to be reviewed, not only reviewed by that committee, but that information, those are, I guess, the responsibility of having that information staying within that interview committee. I think just like any interview process.
Right.
City positions, we don't share our interview questions that way. They don't get leaked out for any reason. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying for that.
But I think you're asking Arlene about making recommendations on the initial questions that we would ask.
Yes.
Yeah. We can check with the clerk's office to see if they have to be standard questions across all advisory boards, or if there is some kind of wiggle room that would be specific to each area. Yeah, we can check on that.
Yeah, and I think in that process, it's okay to send all those recommendations over to John. That way, once we have that information, if it is within that specific committee, the interview committee, they have all those pieces to craft questions based on
So
those
then the answer is no, we're not gonna get to see the questions, but we can send information to him for him.
As of right this moment, unless that changes with the information that I can get from the questions I ask.
When does the interview committee get selected? How does that work? Last year, I think you asked for volunteers.
Yeah.
When does that happen?
And I think, whenever you're ready, I can send out an email. You can raise your hands right now. I know we're three board members down, two
I know
board
you're
members
last.
down. And so, it would be good to, you all can make your own decisions, but it'd be great to have, new representation. If you did interviews last committee, last cycle, then we could volunteer, but I know board chair is part of that process.
Yeah, there's not enough, we're missing several people to make that decision. Let's table it for the next meeting and ask for that committee. Is that too late, October?
Yep. The interviews.
You're back by November, so.
Right, so, beginning of November is where we're gonna start with that.
We'll put on the agenda for next time, since we should have full board back by then. Okay.
I was going to offer, I believe, some of the other boards that I am a liaison for have asked similar questions about can we inform the application process and the interview process with our own questions. I know I'm 99% sure that for the interview process, you can shape the questions you want.
Perfect.
If you wanted to shape what questions get asked in the application itself, would ask specifically about that. I don't
That's a
see
good
why not,
distinction.
but I would make that distinction and make sure to ask.
That's a great point.
I believe so, but I
Thank you
don't.
for that. Yeah, that's a
I don't
great
know if
point.
that comes from the staff liaison usually, or if that comes from the board itself. I don't see why it couldn't be a collaborative effort.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll table
That is a
that.
good distinction.
Yes, interview committee next, we'll talk about it next meeting. All right, anything else on the new business? Reports? Ronnie, will lead off?
Yeah,
Get 25 more minutes.
okay. I'm gonna need 24.
Fair enough. Talk quick.
Good, I only need one.
Just quick updates. Sent to the board the article from the Colorado Sun really highlighting the experiences from interview participants for the Elder Exchange. I just thought it was not only was a really good article, but it did a really good job capturing the impact it had on those interviewed participants individually. So just again, I think it's just really something to celebrate the work that we are doing out of the senior center, providing these opportunities for this type of enrichment for our participants, with the support of our friends of the Longmont Senior Center. Again, funding it and making it possible. So just wanted to again put that on everybody's radar if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. Follow up on the older adults STD, STI awareness campaign that we kind of discussed last board meeting. I let the board know that I was going to talk to our our city equity coordinator, just to make sure that this type of campaign does not impact anybody in our community from a couple different lenses, right? Culturally. And so talked with that coordinator. They said absolutely no concerns. They said that it really is a health awareness campaign, and again, just I told the board that I would commit to reaching out to them to have that conversation, and there was zero concerns. So we did move forward with it after that conversation, and so we did place condoms in both men's and women's restrooms. As of August 25th, 144 condoms have been retrieved. 44 from the men's restroom over here in the front lobby, 35 from the women's. The back hallway, the accessible restroom, 11, and 54 from the women's in the back hallway. So that was a total of 144 as of August 25th. And currently, a total of 217 have been taken. So again, just the whole goal is for that health awareness for our seniors in the community. Any questions on that? Okay. Updates our south lawn over here, the sculpture. They're going to redo the landscape around the sculpture in the front of our building. That work was approved by Art and Public Places. I do believe they are going to start working as early as October. That committee is identifying what plants, what plants or flowers are going to be planted around it, and I know that is still under discussion. So just wanted to let you know, in October they're going to begin that work, as well as the playground and outdoor exercise space out here in the on the west side of our building. That construction also starts in October. Wanted to get the board's thoughts on a couple things. So I want to circle back to our Elder Exchange and the impact that that opportunity had on our participants, our community as a whole, and just want to get the board's thoughts. I've been thinking about, how do we provide an opportunity to extend our relationship with not just our Northern Arapahoe elders, but the Northern Arapahoe community as a whole, and really going back to the city's land acknowledgements. We acknowledge the Longmont sits on the traditional territory of the Cheyenne, Arapahoe, and Ute, and other indigenous peoples. And this really got me thinking: how do we provide opportunity for us to really make that acknowledgement? And I wanted to see your thoughts if there's an opportunity. I know I put proclamation here, but an opportunity for us as an advisory board, senior services, to work together to provide a resolution to City Council to acknowledge Northern Arapahoe elders as residents, Northern Arapahoe, but this one will be specifically to Northern Arapahoe elders as Longmont residents here in our community. And what that would do, along with the acknowledgements, the only thing that would come out of that is an opportunity to acknowledge our Northern Arapahoe elders here at the Longmont Senior Center through our program specifically. So an opportunity to, when they are in town, if they are visiting, to register for our programs as a resident versus the non-resident rate. Mm-hmm. This would not provide an opportunity for us to extend our supportive services outside of city limits out of the city of Longmont. It would be specifically just for registered programs.
Are we also reaching the ones, the tribes here, or the local ones here too? Do we have local Native Americans in Longmont?
From Northern Arapaho tribe, not, well, yes, but not of 55 or older.
Oh.
So yeah, I think it's just a really good, really incredible opportunity for us to again just make that acknowledgement with the support of the advisory board and to the council.
How do you see that moving forward?
Just wanted to start here. I want to see your thoughts. If this is something the advisory board strongly supports and wants to get behind, I think it'd be a great opportunity for the advisory board to help move this forward.
How does the resolution work? What has to happen?
So I'm going to get your thoughts on this. So I have talked with our city attorney just to see again if this would be something that we'd be able to do. City attorney, looking at it a little bit closely, did say this is a possibility. Absolutely. Of course, as city attorney, he'd be able to draw in and create those parameters. Meaning again, focusing on what impacts could it have, right? Opportunities. He would be able to frame it, and again, focusing on registered programs. So he'd be able to frame it as this is the opportunity it creates, and again, supportive services out of our facility. It does not include those as well. So the acknowledgement's there. That's what I'll say the bonus that comes with it.
Yep.
So you've asked the city attorney, or you're going to ask them?
So I asked city attorney. He sent me, just drafted through our conversation, drafted something up and said, this is what it would look like. Just let me know what you want to do with this information. So I said I was going to come to the board. I wanted to talk with you all, get your thoughts, recommendations, and then from there, if this is something that we would like to move forward with, he would be able to get to work on that, basically almost clean it up a little bit. We would then have to go to how does that work at city council at that point? We need approval to get on the agenda to get in front of city council for that
create a
resolution.
agenda.
Yeah.
Go through that process and
And
put it on
then-
the agenda.
And I think at that point, city council would hear review, or would we have to come back for a vote?
No, we could put it on a business a meeting where they can a regular meeting where they could vote on it.
This is
and
just
then
a
have a
resolution.
discussion. Yeah. But if there was any discussion about it, and they asked us to bring it back, we could.
Right. I just think it's a really cool opportunity for us to, again, not only make that acknowledgement, but really show that this work that we are doing and the relationships that we have built between both communities, now we're acting upon it. We are recognizing you as a Longmont resident, again, acknowledging that this is your land. And I'm sorry, Eric, I was talking and you had your hand up.
I just wanted to say, well, I think it's a brilliant idea that maybe we should take some more time to think about what it should entail. So instead of making any sort of resolution right now, maybe we should wait till next month.
Right, and this is just opening it up for discussion, right? I'm not asking you to vote on everything right now. I just want to get your thoughts, and that's one of those thoughts. I appreciate that, and just see what you think, right? Is this something we want to think about, unpack, and explore? And,
I got a question. So Eric, is that because of the specific action items we might take, specific
Yeah.
steps we might take as part of the resolution?
We might expand it, we might think of something entirely different given some time, because this is new.
Right.
Yeah.
So you brought up one, which was to make the senior center accessible to Northern Arapaho tribal members when they're in town. Is that right?
For programs, so being able to, because they could register as a non-resident, right? But a resident.
Register as a resident.
Yeah, but in town would not be able to access counseling services, those support services, supports or resources.
Right.
So.
And another one I know that came up at some point was something about having a time where they could set up at the Longmont Museum. Was that one I heard? Where they could somebody had brought up about them, if they could have like an exhibit at the Longmont Museum I don't know if it was a one-off or an annual thing for a period of time, and that they could even sell the items that they're capable of making, their handcrafted items. Somebody had brought that up.
Well, I think that this direction is consistent with when the city made the land acknowledgement part of their, in 2021, made it part of what every meeting starts with that. So, can you go to would it be worthwhile, do we need a motion to go to the city attorney and ask them to draft something so we can see it?
Yeah.
And then talk about that at the next meeting or distribute it out to us?
He gave me something already.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, because he was just saying, because he said, well, let me see how this would be crafted and framed. And so he sent that over to me. He's like, yeah, just take a look at it, let me know what you think. And
But
let
that's
me know.
not to say that we couldn't,
Have them review again.
couldn't
Yeah.
review,
Oh,
we
absolutely.
couldn't add and then have them
Absolutely.
take a look at it.
Starting
And if there's anything
To just say,
additional,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So can we get that,
That'd be nice.
do we need a motion to go forward, can you just, or just have you distribute it to us, we can,
I think a motion would be
okay?
appropriate, right?
Motion to, what are we making a motion for, to get,
To,
Move forward.
to draft a,
Draft
have the city
a-
attorney draft some
Yeah.
Motion
resolution?
draft,
Okay, so motion to have the city attorney draft a resolution, run the land acknowledgement to allow the Northern Arapahoes to become members, resident members of here.
yes.
okay. And they're here.
Is that clear?
So, she has a question.
Yeah, I just want to bring up that as part of this, recognize that some of the programs we do are remote with Zoom. So people who are recognized as residents would be able to access those programs remotely. From-
That would be true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that would be true. I just wanted to bring that up.
No?
And with the hopes of possibly getting more cameras for Zoom programs in our
Mhm.
facility as well.
Mhm.
We're hoping.
So there's a motion before the board, do I have have a, if it wasn't before the board, do I have someone to support that? Eric, second? John?
It would be good to see the resolution,
Yeah.
as
Right.
it stands now.
I mean, I think that would be okay to send that out. I can send that out today for review, and then, as Eric mentioned, if there's any more opportunities to add anything additional, then we could move those forward, recommendations
Thank
forward
you,
as well.
Randy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So how
absolutely.
do you want to get feedback on the resolution? I don't want to wait till next meeting to do it all then. If we can get if you want some changes, we can submit them to you or requests.
Is that, so with your recommendation, Eric, is that kind of what you're envisioning? So I could do the behind the scenes work, I can send it out now. Any recommendations, feedback could come to me for review, to add to. I could run it by city attorney in that process. If there's anything that could be added in, he can, and then you're saying final draft,
At
bring
the
back
next
to the
meeting.
next meeting?
Yes.
That'd be okay? Does that work for everybody?
Okay.
And then just keep that communication with me. I'll send it out. So it'll be just, I always send I VCC a whole board, so that way when you do respond, it's just to me directly, but I keep track of everybody's feedback as well. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, when we send that to you, do you want us to send you any, like this access to programs is one great idea. If we have other ideas, do you want us to include those in what we send back to you?
That'd be perfect, so that way I could keep them all together and
Yeah.
have city attorney review to see what is, what he views as available or eligible.
So once you send it out, if we can put a time to get that back to Ronnie so we don't drag it out too long, that'd be great.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you. I know we talked about it, September, identifying as hunger awareness, hunger action awareness month, right? John already hit on all of that, so we got the, we'll be working with Naomi to set up a donation location in our front lobby for the month of September, to help support. 2026 budget requests, my requests have been reviewed. Where we're at now is the $16,000 for evening meals is moving forward to City Council for approval. If approved by City Council, the goal is to, as mentioned, use those funds to provide an evening option for our for our senior participants here out of the senior center, allowing us to start collecting data. I know that we have been doing a lot of work around this as the board, and I just want to hit on some key pieces as well. So what this allows us to do is look at food access and security for our 55 older population through a different lens. Right now we have our Meals on Wheels 2023, whether it be delivery and on-site. They served a total of 115,366 meals. 2024, that increased by 1,849, and in 2024, 117,215 meals came out of our senior center. Came out of the senior center, and that's Monday through Friday, a Monday through Friday option. And so now we have our Saturday, once a month Saturday, food table, as Naomi mentioned, 350 people served, 190 households, and 3,185 pounds of food has been distributed through only those 3 months. So since June when we started, we've seen an increase of 30 households, so providing that support to 30 households and 20 more people throughout that time. So we're seeing the need, we're seeing these increases, and this is an opportunity for us to look at it through a different lens. What is the evening need? What is the data we can collect for our senior population that does not have access to an evening meal? And through this data collection, it allows us to really truly assess and see, and start really evaluating what supports we need to start exploring to address that need or what comes from that information. So that's the goal.
So Ronnie, you think 16,000 will do a year of meals? Is that what you're thinking?
So that is for at least, because right now we just want to collect that data, right? Start off with 1 meal a week and be able to see, right, if X amount of meals are able to support everybody showing, because we don't want to go Monday through Friday right out the gate and us be providing too much food and not enough participants or not enough. Yeah, exactly.
This is another opportunity to partner with Children, Youth, and Families, because in the proposed budget, they also have a line item for that is $12,800. So, and they're one-time funds that are proposed, and so the thought is between the almost $29,000 that there's some sort of collaboration or some sort of joint effort that can be done to get those meals, because the kids need them around the same time. So in the afternoons, early evenings. So the thought is that they could leverage those funds to do something.
Ronnie, who would staff that?
So that we don't know. First we need the funds approved, and from then we'll be able to start looking at it.
Perhaps volunteers.
We'll come back for volunteers soon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hilda is working with a community group, a faith organization that because they have volunteers, but they don't have a commercial kitchen. And so she's kind of working that angle, and we thought what we would do is try to collaborate, partner, leverage any kind of resources that we have.
Right, and we have 300 registered volunteers through senior services, and so our goal. I said that jokingly, right? We don't know, but the goal is to reach out and lean on our volunteers to see who would be available to help support.
Seems like there's a lot of people.
Yeah. And we do have a lot of volunteers, and I know something that if approved, this is something that I can see a lot of our participants get really excited for.
And there's obviously growing attention on food security for seniors, so I think it's a great time to capitalize on that.
Right.
And that's this board's doing too the last almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's where this board, Ronnie, Hilda, the youth council group have really done a great job of compiling the data around need. So,
Well done.
Yes.
All right.
Any questions for me?
Don't cut into Matthew's 2 minutes.
I only said one.
Well,
I'm
You're giving him more
for the
time.
break.
No, I just wanted to thank you all for your continued work. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting at the beginning of August. But I did want to share just one thing for awareness for everyone here and for anyone watching. Last week on August 26th, the City Council fielded a proposal from a developer who is from the owner of the Alta Vida residence and senior living facilities. And just as a reminder, they provide assisted living, independent living, and memory care facilities. That's on the west side of town, just west of Hoover. So that's the Alta Vida kind of senior living center. They're proposing to expand that to the Alta Vida residences and build that again between Dry Creek and South Fordham. Same, there's the south parcel that's like right next to the path. City Council fielded that in terms of an environmental variance that was requested, so not about the actual proposal itself, but more about some of the environmental conditions. That was tabled last week to allow some City Council members some more time to review some of the material. I think that will be brought back September 23rd to City Council in case anyone was interested in digging into that. The materials are available online from the August 26th meeting. You can jump to that in the meeting if you're curious to watch the discussion of that. Again, it was the issue at play was specifically a variance for setback, the distance basically from the river from the river environmental corridor that's just below the path, just south of the path. So that was what the discussion was focused on. But if you want to learn more about the project in general, of what they were sharing, you can go online and watch that discussion. I think it's about a 25-minute discussion on August 26th. Again, that was tabled ultimately until the 23rd of September. So the council has not requested that the Senior Citizen Advisory Board weigh in on this. Again, it's not a question of senior housing, it's a question of the environmental specifics of the proposal. But if you were curious or wanted to weigh in your personal capacity, just wanted to offer that to you all and to anyone who's paying attention. Also happy to answer any questions.
Isn't the housing going to be sort of like independent housing? So it's kind of then everybody's together, so you go from this step to that step to that step. So the housing that is kind of proposed is like independent.
Exactly.
Right?
It's independent residences, I believe, that are intended to be kind of an earlier stage of that continuum of care that would feed into the assisted living and the independent living and the memory care facility that they already have.
We need more of that.
Yeah. So
We need more, yeah, especially at a lower price. Because I toured it there. And
I don't know what the pricing is going to be. I haven't shared that yet, but that is.
It won't be lower.
It's the same folks who run the current Alta Vida, or just who have had that site for decades.
Yeah, which is a great place.
Yeah. So again, if you're curious, you can email me or you can check it out at for the agenda management portal on August 26th, or just come and attend the meeting on the 23rd. If you want, or you can watch along, or you can speak at the beginning if you want, and then leave. Whatever type of schedule or participation floats your boat. Other questions?
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
exactly 2 minutes. Wow. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Any questions on any of the reports that were submitted? John, well, thank you for that write-up on the senior employment. Looking forward to that moving along.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things, I do want to get Lily Moon in here before the end of the year. So maybe think about if that's October, November, or December, if we can get her on the agenda to give us kind of an update in education on what workforce does and some of the programs they already have that could be either are or can be applicable to seniors as well.
Okay.
And then at some point we definitely need to talk about what kind of a workshop we might want to consider having for them next year. So it sounds, Ronnie, like you guys have done that before and agreed maybe in the past to do like an employment workshop like every other year. Does that sound? That's what they had told me. I guess they worked with Brandon.
And we just had one last year.
Yeah. So that if we continue with that every other year, then 26 would be the year that we would do that again. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure the process or the timing, but we want to get, kind of figure out if we want to do it in 26 timing, and then ultimately I think that needs to flow into the next, iteration of the Go magazine, right? So get it out there.
Well, perhaps we all could meet that with Ronnie about that. What's your annual report?
Okay.
Okay. Eric says he's gonna give us a report next time on sustainability. Thank you very much. And Naomi covered everything on the food table and the food report, but I want to special thanks to Arlene for running the gang when they're here.
I just need to know who would like to do the next, volunteer at the next one.
I don't know.
Ari,
Oh, I should be.
Maria,
What's the date?
Martha,
Martha.
John,
13th.
Marta, and,
And
okay,
The other John.
John,
John.
And Martha said she'd also.
yeah, I got Marta.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Good.
And myself, and bringing my son if he's here. Okay, good.
Arlene, did you want to bring up the LHA?
Just real fast, tomorrow night, LHA is having a program here to talk about the Ascent. That's over there. I always say 18th and Hobart, but it's in that area over there. The new one that's being built, low income, it is multi-generational housing, and it's at 6 o'clock here at the senior center. So if you're interested in hearing about it, I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And the units will be restricted to 30, I was just looking here, 30, 40, 50,
Up to
70, and 80% of AMI.
Up to 80%
So it'll be
AMI.
affordable.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. It is moving along really fast. It looks nice. It's really pretty over there.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Got it. Thank you all very much.